Hi, Paul Wright here, Director at Practiceology. Can't wait to be part of Prosper's online prosperity show. Been a big fan a long time. I'm going to take you through my journey, how to run a great health business or even a business that helps you earn more, work less, and enjoy your life, because it's all the stuff we didn't learn at university.
Hello, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Online Prosperity Show. I'm your host, Prosper Tarovinga, and today we have a special guest that's joining us. Paul, how are you doing, my man?
Mate, great to be here, mate. Great to join. I've been a fan of yours for a long time. So great to be part of a great program, mate. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, the pleasure is all mine. Like, we also have been following your stuff, and I quite learned a lot of things from your practiceology. I need to learn how to say that and get it all right. But for those that are watching right now, Paul Wright is a renowned physiotherapist and former owner of multiple allied health clinics in Australia. And Paul is the author of the Amazon bestseller, How to Run a 1 Minute Practice, and the founder of Practiceology. I'm gonna have to learn how to say that. Can you say it so that I get it all right?
It's practiceology. Just put the word practice and add the ology at the end of it. Practiceology. It's the science, Prosper, the science of running a business. Practiceology.
Absolutely. I quite like that. I have a lot to learn, but Practiceology it is.
There you go.
And
You got it. You've nailed it.
great stuff. Thank you so much. And it's basically a health business freedom program. Now, he's helped thousands of allied health business owners across 57 countries earn more, work less, and enjoy their lives. And like I said, it's quite a privilege having him on the show. He was just telling me all about his daughters and how he's managed to get the time and freedom to actually raise them into good humans out there. So I'm hoping that's your goal, and I'm hoping that's what you also want to do with your practice there, especially if you're working in the health sector. Now, let's dive into the details of Paul's journey and maybe discover the valuable insights that he has to offer. Now, Paul, we could go on and on about your accolades and everything else and make it a practice session of me trying to say the name of your business. Just tell us a little bit about yourself and how you actually started venturing into the world of allied health business ownership.
Well, like most, I imagine, like most people on your show, Prosper. I small country town. I didn't even know a physio in my town. There was no physio at all. So as most sports loving country kids do, I grew up in a small town called Canamble, out western New South Wales, miles from anywhere. And there was no physios, there was no chiropractors, there was no podiatrists out there. The closest role model I had was my phys ed teacher. So what does a sports loving kid do in the country? He decides to be a PE teacher. So I applied to Newcastle University and I got accepted to study phys ed and started my phys ed teaching course. But it's interesting, we talk about sliding doors, prospering businesses and life. And I met a physiotherapist at a party, and I think it was a toga party. So we're dressed in togas, and I spoke to this young lady, and she said, I'm a physio. And I said, what's a physio? No idea what a physio was. She said, well, I work with anatomy and injuries and physiology, and I fix people. So I thought, wow. So by that stage, I think I was in third year of phys ed. I liked injuries, I liked anatomy, I liked physiology. So I said, oh, that sounds good. So I applied to go to Sydney Uni as a mature age student after I finished my phys ed course, got accepted to study physio, and that started the physio journey. But it was interesting, when you think back on those moments, Prosper, I wonder if my decision to go to physio was because of an entrepreneurial streak, and I didn't think I could work for myself as a PE teacher. So maybe that was part of it. But I remember sitting on Newcastle Beach, beautiful day. I'd graduated as a phys ed teacher, and I had the letter of acceptance from Sydney Uni. Do I want to go to Sydney for 4 years and study for 4 years more? Or do I enjoy being a PE teacher and live the life of a phys ed teacher, which would have been good, school holidays and everything else? anyway, I ended up going to Sydney Uni, and it was a tough 4 years, Prosper. I'm telling you, I'm not a naturally gifted student, worked hard. And the funny thing was, I think when I look back on it, I, PE teaching was a pretty easy course. It was good fun. We had tennis in the morning, cricket in the afternoon. That was the subjects. You go to physio college and it's serious. The library was full on the first day. There was no toga party in sight. Like, it was just a hard 4 years. But I got it done, graduated, did a year in the public health system, and then maybe the entrepreneurial streak kicked in again, and I wanted to run my own business. So then I opened my first practice within 12 months of graduating. And over the next 10 years, I end up with 6 of them. Claim to fame, I suppose, then I'd got heavily involved in the E-Myth, which hopefully you guys all understand, Michael Gerber's E-Myth. All the idea of being in a business and doing everything as well as owning the business was what the E-Myth was all about. So I started running them remotely, ended up with 6, didn't go to any of them, was able to spend a lot of time with my family and friends. And that was kind of how the whole mentoring started, because business owners said, how do you do it? How do you run a practice and not be there all the time? Which then sold the practices for good money. And the last 15, 20 years, I've been helping health business owners do exactly that. So there's the journey, Prosper. How's that?
I love that. And I quite like all the other, people that you came across along the way, starting off with the PE teacher. I mean, I don't know if you know anything about my coming up. I also was influenced by a teacher when I was 13 years old who planted the seed of what is actually, possible. Now, looking at all those people and the lady that you met at the toga party and things of that nature, how important is it for somebody to have role models on their way up? Because I believe you can't hit a target that you can't see.
Yeah, I don't think I really realised at the time. And the phys ed teachers, Prosper, in my town, they weren't classic role models as such, but I liked what they did. I liked what they could do and the idea of it. I didn't really know about a role model probably until I got a little bit older and started really focusing on success and what it meant to be successful, and then mirroring people. One thing I was fortunate with, Prosper, in allied health, in the physiotherapy world, when I first graduated as a physio, there wasn't much business education. So they were teaching you a lot about how to be a great therapist. There were lots of great knee, shoulder, back courses, but no one was really doing a lot of work in running a great business. And I was fortunate, Prosper, because I was in the fitness industry. So I was a phys ed teacher trained, and I was into bodybuilding and all these other things. So I had a lot of interest in fitness. So I'd go to the fitness conferences presenting as a presenter for them, but I would always gravitate towards the business strand of those conferences. And at the fitness conferences, there was a huge business strand, the marketing, the sales, the recruitment, that they were big parts of the conferences. So I'd spend my whole weekend, I'd do my lectures, but then I'd go and spend my time in the conferences. So I think my role models and a lot of my education came from in the fitness industry, education, business, certainly not from the physio, chiro, osteopodiatry world, because there wasn't any in those days. What's the lesson? Go to wherever the information is. It doesn't have to be just your profession. Borrow from wherever has the information, which is what I did in the fitness industry. And I was very fortunate that was available to me. And I learned a lot of my marketing and sales from the fitness conferences.
Quite like one statement that you mentioned there, like go where the information is. I mean, growing up in a small town, like you mentioned, where there was not much going on, you did not just decide to leave there. You went where the information and the jobs and the opportunities were. So many people get stuck, first of all, maybe in just the one practice that they have or the one town that they have. How important is it to actually get yourself out of your comfort zone like you did?
Well, what my accountant, or what another one of my mentors, my accountant, told me years ago, behind every successful business is a risky decision. And because if it was easy, everyone would do it. So to open a practice, to then open another one, to then recruit people, to then take on leases, to like it's scary. The whole thing is scary. And then when you think about it in our profession, when you've got no training in it, like think about it. We've just spent 4 years of university to be a physio, chiropractor, podiatrist, whatever. And I didn't do one lecture, conference, seminar, anything to do with business provided by the physio or chiro associations. So you get no training in it. And then you open up and then you look for people like you or podcasts weren't there, but books or other things you can sponge from and other business people you can leverage. And that gives you the impetus. But risky decisions, they're all over the place. I think the number of times we've signed leases without the money, or we've signed people without the wage, like what another mentor told me once. I said to him once, when do you employ your next therapist? Was the question. And the answer was surprising. When you can afford half of their wage. So you're taking the punt. And I think and books are a great resource for me. I know Good to Great with Jim Collins was a pivotal book for me. One of his principles was first who, then what. Find the right person and they will create a job for themselves, prosper. You won't always find a superstar, but if the right person comes along, give them a job. Whether you've got a job or not for them, they'll create a job for themselves. And I've followed that philosophy very heavily through my business career as well. First who, then what.
Like that, because so many people, when they get into, the formal training that you had, in the physiotherapy space, they become the technician. They want to be the one that is actually doing the fixing and, the adjusting and everything else that comes along with it. But you did mention you owned 6 practices and you rarely visited them. Now, can you maybe elaborate how you actually managed to do this and the actual impact that this has on your work-life balance?
Well, I think that was the real reason. Having read the E-Myth, when I started the E-Myth, and you said about the technician, because that's the whole E-Myth principle. You become a technician in your business. But if you're the technician, who's doing the marketing, the sales, the recruitment, the systems? Like no one. So that's why you get overwhelmed as an owner. And those that are business owners out there that are overloaded at the moment, it's usually because they're doing all the technical work as well as trying to run the business. And once you start adding team members, so the E-Myth opened my eyes, like I've got to get myself off the tools. And how I started doing it was and there's a lesson for everyone here. If you're good at it, if you're good at what you're doing, you become, as Gerber says, your franchise prototype. You create versions of yourself based on the knowledge that you've got. So instead of me just delivering a consultation or answering the phone or what I was doing, maybe I moved away and I looked at myself doing it and thought, how did I do that? What did I say? What were the words? What were the steps? What were the processes? And then I created, as a result of that led to me creating the systems that I then had in my business that ran whether I was there or not. And I could then run these businesses remotely because I knew that the systems were being followed. That's any business, Prosper. How do we get 15-year-olds to work successfully at McDonald's? Because they follow the system that someone else has done it. This is how we do it here. And you follow the same thing. It's no different in healthcare. A lot of health professionals think, oh, that's okay for McDonald's, but it won't work in my business. Well, there's part of that true. You need a technical skill. You need to be good, but you do that at university. That's why you go to university. But you have to then massage that technical skill with all the steps and processes around it that help it run successfully. And that once I'd done one, it wasn't that hard to create the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the sixth, because what I did learn though, and there's a lesson for everyone in this, small failures in your first or second will magnify as you replicate. So if it wasn't spectacular on your franchise prototype, it's going to be worse than the second one, worse than the third, worse than the fourth. So if you're going to replicate, make sure your first one's tight. Otherwise, your little system failure in practice 1 will be a big system failure in practice 6. They expand. So, and I think the other thing I learned, Prosper, too many businesses, not just health businesses, but too many businesses rely on superstar team members, like the ability to recruit a spectacular person for this position. Now, with available labor the way it is, and it's not changing, it's hard to get superstars. So, and this was another thing that I learned years ago. Your job as a business owner is to leverage ordinary people with great systems. Leverage ordinary people with great systems. Because it's hard to find superstars. I'm not saying people are ordinary. It's not a great expression, but the average person coming through has a certain set of skills, and you have to make them appear better than they are. And you can do that with great systems, great processes, great follow-up, great scripts, whatever you can do to make them be a superstar, even if they're not quite a superstar yet, which then broadens your recruitment options, which means you don't have to wait or rely on having high-priced superstars all the time. You leverage ordinary people with great systems.
I quite like that, because if you bring in a superstar, he would actually find ways of doing the job which may not be able to be replicated. Instead, if you bring in, like an average person, like you say, and then, amplify them with systems, they would actually just follow through and actually get the job done without, putting a cog or, putting a spanner in the works or things of that.
And your better people, Prosper, they were always empowered. I was happy for them to improve the systems. But and they got better as they went further into the business. They would have input into the systems. But there's another expression that I use a lot in our programs. You've got to remove discretion at the operating level of your business. So you remove discretion, which means if I want every new patient that comes into our practice, they have to get a written report. And on that report is what's the plan of treatment. That's not negotiable. So that's not open to discussion. It has to happen in the business. Like if a superstar might come and say, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't need that." Well, hang on, no, mate, you're going to do it because everyone's going to do it here. If you can come up with a better version, I'm happy to listen to it, but you're not going to get out of doing it. You remove discretion at the operating level of your business, which is probably the other way I was able to step out of the businesses, because I knew if you have really tight systems and you don't have a lot, you might have 5 or 6 key things happening. If that's guaranteed to be happening, regardless of who's on the desk or who's seeing the patient, you're a chance of having a successful business. But if it's all left to who's there and the individual whims of the team members, that's when you get into trouble in businesses.
I quite like that. I've spoken to a few people in the allied health space, and half of the time I usually then end up telling them you can't climb the ladder of success with your hands full, because they want to do just about everything within the business, especially when it comes to maybe marketing themselves or writing content and things of that nature. Now, when you leave it to the discretion of your teams like that, are you not opening yourself to the scrutiny of boards like APRA or all these other health monitoring spaces that would rather have a more specialized person running this operation?
Well, it depends on what part they're looking at. APRA in Australia, Prosper, get involved with a lot of your marketing, like what messages you're putting out to your websites and other things. So there's a couple of things I never delegated. So I rarely, if ever, delegated my marketing, and I never delegated my checkbook. So I thought I was the best marketer in the business, and I was in control of the message. So that was what I was doing with my time. While the therapist was seeing patients, I was able to then work on the marketing. So I was able to keep my eye on the messages going out, the ads, the recruitment, all those things that I thought were most important. And none of those things ever upset APRA or the regulatory bodies. But if I'd have handed that over, as you'll know, hand over my marketing to a company that didn't understand the APRA regulations, etc., then I could be in trouble. But you can still do it. You can still use great companies like yours, but as long as you have some sort of say in it, you can't just difference between delegation and abdication. Prosper, you guys in marketing companies do a great job, but you've got to at some stage be accountable for what you put out on our behalf. And that's why we're delegating it. We're not just handing the whole thing over. But that's a matter of you knowing what's important in your business. And I knew in our business, it was almost like, what's the best use of my time? I worked out very early, Prosper, the best use of my time was not treating patients. It wasn't the best use of my time. I was better off marketing, recruitment, making sure the numbers were looked after. And I said before, I never delegated my checkbook because I was in control of the money. I always made sure that was the case. They were the things that I wanted to control. But you might have your own list, but delegate, don't abdicate, and know your regulations and know your limitations.
Absolutely. Now, that also goes to you training the clients for the practice to not expect, you as the resident, physician to be there, because some people are very picky on who they want to be seen by. And how do you translate that message that, yes, we own this place, but you can be seen by junior staff member, and they will equally do the same thing?
I think that's a challenge for a lot of practices and a lot of owners, Prosper. Because their whole self-esteem sometimes is based on being the go-to therapist, being the best therapist. I was fortunate. I never wanted to be the best therapist. I wanted to be the best business owner. So I had a different goal initially. The one way around that, though, because a lot of owners we speak to in Practiceology, they're the same. How do I get patients to see everyone else? How do I get them to see the other therapists? And one thing that we try and put into all of our clients' practices is the concept of packaging what you deliver. So you're not coming to me, Prosper, for your back problem. You're coming to start our Better Back program. So we've marketed the Better Back program, which is a 4-week program, 4 stages, 3 sessions a week. So it's the package that we market. We don't market Paul Wright, the physiotherapist. I might be the owner of the practice and I might be the person delivering the lecture, but you sell the package of care, whether it's a migraine prevention program or a fall no more bone loss program, whatever you decide to call this, you then sell and market the package. So then when they come into the business, they don't necessarily come in for you, the therapist, they come in for the program. And then if I'm sick, Prosper, or if I leave, or if one of my therapists is no longer working with me, what week are you up? You're at stage 4 of the Better Back program. No problems. Let's keep going. They come to the program and the outcome. They don't come for the specific therapist, and that's how you package it and how you deliver the message. That's one of the key things that we do. And you make the package the star, or the outcome of what you deliver the star. You don't make the therapist the star. And it's funny. It's wondering how this works. You do it in your business, Prosper. Like I'd be the face of my practice. So I would be the lecturer. I'd be doing the talks. I would be at the conferences. So I was the face of the practice. And if you asked all the people that I knew who was the best physiotherapist in St Leonard's, where I was based in those days, that's all Paul Wright. But I hadn't seen a patient for 10 years. So I hadn't been to an update thing for long. I had no interest in technical things anymore. But you can brand yourself as the expert. You can position yourself as the expert without actually being the expert. It's an interesting, but the power of that comes in the package. And as you guys do, you create superstars. It's an interesting. We don't like to think about it, Prosper, because we've just spent 4 years at university. But I can market a new grad to be to the perception of being a spectacular therapist, even though their skill level might be very, very low. They might be a good public speaker. They might do a good video. We can position them as the expert, which is exactly what you do, Prosper.
Absolutely. If you look at the way the marketing and digital marketing has changed over the years, there's no way you'll be able to keep up with all these algorithm changes and things of that nature. But if people show up to us, yes, we would have somebody on the team that is well versed with that particular thing. You wouldn't believe this, Paul. I actually don't even have Facebook myself. I wouldn't even know where to start.
I did a lecture recently, Prosper. You love this. I did a lecture, how to grow your business using social media was the
Right.
presentation that I delivered. Now, my beautiful daughter, my youngest daughter at that stage, was working in the local print shop, and she had to do the manuals for that event. And so she printed them up for me, gave me the manuals, and I was taking them to the event. And as she handed over the manual, one of the manuals, she said, "Dad, you're a fraud." I said, "What?" She said, "You don't understand Facebook. You don't understand social media. What are you doing on this thing?" So I don't have to understand. I've pulled it together. I know a bit about LinkedIn, so I do a small bit of LinkedIn, but I had other people there that were doing Facebook and ads and Google, and you leverage yourself with great people as well. So I wasn't the expert by any stretch. So my daughter thinks I'm a fraud. Fantastic.
Absolutely, and obviously you built, a successful business going the way you have, and you've created. You can also help other people create true positive income through the health business that actually works without you. Now, would that be the reason why, if people would have come to the back of the practices, they would have maybe caught you washing towels or at your clinic or things like that, because he literally want to
Ah,
be seen at the front of the house.
well, you know about the towel story, which was so. This is another mistake we made. I had when I had the six practices, I had a Nissan 300 ZX sports car in those days, Prosper. So I was in this fancy sports car. But for some reason, I always did the washing of the towels for our practices. When we had one, I'd take them home, and my wife and I would do them. It was just in those days we probably couldn't afford to outsource it, so we did it ourselves. But as the practice got bigger, we didn't outsource that to someone else. We just kept thinking, oh, no, we'll just keep doing it ourselves. Think of the money we were saving, Pros. We were saving hundreds of dollars every week on laundry. But the
Absolutely.
cost for that, but the cost, I'm going around six practices in Sydney, or five in Sydney, one in Newcastle, in a Nissan 300 ZX sports car, picking up bags and bags of laundry, taking the towels, swapping them over, and bringing them back home. And it got to the point where I'm thinking, here I am. I'm already running lectures for health professionals on how to run a great business. And here I am driving a Nissan 300 ZX sports car full of towels all around me that I'm taking home to wash that I could get someone to do for next to nothing. And I finally said to my beautiful wife, Helen, I said, this has got to stop. This is ridiculous. And she took a photo of me on Christmas Day once washing towels out, hanging towels on the line. And I said, it's got to stop. Why? I said, well, I can't be driving around. I'm the $1 million health professional. How can I be seen in the sports car with towels? And the towels prospect, not much room in a 300Z. There's towels right. I'm wedged in this sports car with the towels all around me. And Helen would say, well, she said, well, at least you're safe. If you get hit on the freeway, you're gonna
Airbags.
be cushioned. I got airbag. Anyway, so finally we ditched the towels, and I don't know why we kept it for so long, but the lesson for you guys, what's the towels that you're doing? Are you still vacuuming the floor? Are you still checking the voicemail on Sundays? Like what are you doing that someone else could be doing? And sometimes we get caught up in, well, what will it cost me to do it? That's the wrong message. What's the biggest thing I can do right now in my business? What's my most valuable thing? And it's not washing towels. It's marketing, recruitment, training team members, whatever it is that I can do that's more valuable than that. So don't wash the towels is the story, the lesson in that, Prosper.
Absolutely. But there's certain things that, well, if you are not going to do it, not a lot of people will be able to do it within the business, but it's a big mindset shift that needs to happen. Now, Paul, I was also just thinking, you've got a beautiful family, of four girls, five, including your wife, Helen, there. And
Yeah.
I was just thinking, in the ZX, how did you manage to fit them all in there?
It wasn't my midlife crisis. We had a Tarago as well, Prosper. We had
Uh,
we had the people mover. But I think I traded Mike, and it was a car that I'd always wanted. It was one of your dream cars. So it wasn't a new one. It was an old 300 ZX. And funny when you think about how it all transpired. So we had the family car, and I had the 300 ZX. And we moved house once, and one of my daughters were in the car, and we were moving things in the car, and she spilled a whole bottle of soy sauce, Prosper, in the back of the 300 ZX. So she just spilled the whole bottle. and I could not for the life of me get rid of the smell of soy sauce out of the 300ZX. And it was like it was that day, Prosper, that I realized the 300ZX, my days were done as a sports car owner. I got rid of the smell as best I could and traded the 300ZX in. So now, and by that stage too, I was also starting to paddle surf skis. So I'm in the surf lifesaving movement. So I've got this massive surf ski
Right.
that didn't really fit on the top of a 300ZX, and it had the Targa roof. You take the glass off each side. It was a beautiful car, but you couldn't put a surf ski on top of it. So anyway, so that we moved out of the 300ZX into a larger sedan, but still had the family car, Prosper. That's right.
Absolutely. Well, see, that's what happens when you create a life that you absolutely love. You end up even at the inconvenience of the family, but you still get to do that which you absolutely love. So tell us a little bit about this Practiceology program and how it actually helps, help professionals achieve their business and life goals. I mean, I know you've achieved yours, and it would have been through this setup and program. Now, let's just, spill the beans just so that the listener can have an understanding of maybe all the 6 steps that need to go into this in as briefly as you possibly can.
Yeah, well, basically what we did, it started back 20 years ago, Prosper, when I was probably longer than that, as I was building the systems inside my business and exiting the physical being there of the practice. It all was systems and processes and training. So as owners started asking me, Paul, how do you do it? How do you run these practices and you're not there? One of my daughter's primary school principals said to me once, he called me aside, he said, Paul, are you a drug dealer? So what do you mean? He said, Paul, you're at everything. You're at every sports carnival, you're at every concert, you're at everything. What are you doing? Are you a drug dealer? No, I run businesses. But the idea of having business and not being there was kind of foreign to a lot of people. So especially health business owners. So I was creating systems, and then people were asking me how I did it. So I then started doing some lectures on it. We then created some programs around it. And that over the last 20 years, we've just created program after program, systems, steps, measurements, software, 1-minute practice, cancellation reduction systems, referral systems, recruitment systems, and that's now all part of the Practiceology framework. So when health business owners work with us now, we do a diagnostic on their business, work out whether they're suitable or not for us. If they are, we then gradually help them put those steps into the business that help free them from being there all the time. And whether it's recruitment systems or the rebooking system, the cancellation system, they know they need these things, Prosper. They didn't learn it at university. So we package it all up and make it available to them. And then the other thing that's, I think, the big success of our program, we've started doing a lot of the team training for them, because the owners haven't got the time to do the training on the action plan or the delivery or the cancellation call. Or so part of Practiceology is the owners or our members get their team members to come and we train them. So they've got a comprehensive dashboard and we do a lot of the training for them, because the owners haven't got time or don't know how to. And as a result, they leverage our skills to get their team better. And that's why we've had clients in Practiceology that have been with us for over a decade, because they stay as long as they're getting value. And there's always things happening in the business, always things happening in the group. We meet every week. I have office hours every week where they ask me questions. We have training sessions and things that just help them grow the business, because they haven't got the time or haven't got the resources to do it themselves. That's how it works.
And you've helped thousands of people in 57 different countries. So in all this time that you've been doing this business education side of things, what sort of key things are common amongst business owners that they seem to, first of all, not grasp, but after they've worked with you for a while, they walk away thinking, oh, if I had known this earlier, my business would have been a lot further than it is right now?
Oh, there's a couple in there. The one that sprang to mind when you asked the question, Prosper, that they've got to realize that their income can't be tied to their exertional hours. So they're caught up on the idea of trading time for dollars. So They know if I do 8 hours consulting, I can make $1,000. So they've got this idea that the more time I spend seeing patients, the more money I make. And that's what university teaches them. We call that the Cumberland curse. I went to uni at Cumberland College. That became my Cumberland curse. The idea that to be successful, you've got to be seeing lots of patients. I made more money prosper when I stopped seeing patients and focused more on the things that had a bigger leverage, the training and the recruitment and the marketing. So they've got to get out of the idea of trading time for dollars. And sometimes though that's hard because one of the big mistakes, and I was fortunate I never did this, they put a monetary value on their family time. Probably the biggest mistake I've ever seen them make. I could, let's say my daughter one of my daughters was in a sports carnival. I could choose to go to work and treat 10 patients and make $1,000, or I can choose to go to the sports carnival. Now, this is the dilemma that faces a lot of practice owners all the time. They're putting a monetary value, Prosper, on their family time. And that's the biggest mistake you can make. I can always make more money, but my daughters no longer go to sports carnivals. They're out of school now, so I don't get to do that anymore. I didn't want to miss it. And this is one of the big mistakes. So we help owners understand the value of their time and how to leverage themselves so they can make more money even by treating less. That's I think one of the big lessons that we try and get into their heads very early, because they've got a trading time for dollars philosophy that's false.
Absolutely. You can only imagine. I'm an allied health worker. That's all I'm supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be treating when they could actually be owning the whole practice. Now, what would be the best way, Paul, for people to get it right?
To get it right, well, start off by I think fundamentally work out what you want the business to do for you. Work out what's the role of your business. I think I stumbled into physio initially, but then once I read the E-Myth and thought about the business, I very clearly wanted to have a business that gave me more life. So the role of the business was to give me the money and the freedom of time to do what I wanted with my family. That was the role of my business. So as a result, every decision I made was based on that. But if you go in wanting to be a great therapist, that's pretty open-ended. What's the role of your business? So think about what you want the business to do. If you want to be a spectacular therapist, if your goal in life is to be a great chiro, physio, osteopodiatrist, you may be better off working for someone else and doing that with 100% of your energy. Because to then open a business that does that, you've got marketing, recruitment, retention, all these other things, leases that may not be what you're passionate about. And that's how a lot of owners get burnt out, Prosper. They're trying to do all of this together and it just doesn't work. There's not enough hours in the day. What do you want the business to do for you, and what do you want your life to look like? If you want to be a 9 to 4 employee delivering great care to patients, then do that. But if you want to be have freedom and possibly more revenue and more time, as I did, then you need a different model than that. But work out what you want. None of them are wrong. You just work out what you want.
Absolutely. Well, from what I'm gathering, it is possible to earn more, work less, still enjoying life as a health business owner, because obviously you have done it. Now, Paul, what would be the best way that the listener right now can get a hold of you or get started on their journey to actually start earning more with less struggle?
Just head to our main website. Head to mypracticeology.com. So mypracticeology.com. On that page, you can fill in a survey and get a free copy of my book, How to Run a 1-Minute Practice. So that just gets you on our list. From that, you can reply, email me, or my only social media that I'm really into is LinkedIn. So if you want to search for Paul Wright, WRIGHT, Newcastle, Australia, hit me up on LinkedIn. I love the LinkedIn platform, so that's where I spend a lot of my time. But mypracticeology.com or Paul Wright on LinkedIn.
Absolutely. I'll definitely make sure we've got those links in the show notes there. And definitely get people to get a hold of you. Now, Jeff, this has been a fantastic journey of yours and us getting to learn a little bit more from you and things of that nature. And there's always going to be that one guy. I know they're not the people that you want to work with, but he's just thinking to himself, nah, it might work for other industries, like you said, maybe in the pizza industry. But when it comes to physio, I definitely need to be treating people and things of that nature. What sort of advice would you give to people, that are still thinking in that sort of space and, celebrating their qualifications instead of what they could be actually earning?
Well, but the point is though, Prosper, it's not wrong to celebrate your qualification and to be a great therapist. We've got clients in our program who still do a lot of treating, but they want to. It's their choice. They don't have to. They know the numbers, but they love treating patients. But those people that do that have got one thing in common, that they've all got really good systems around them, and they leverage our team a lot to help them. So you can do 30 hours, 40 hours a week consulting, provided you've got great systems around you. If you're in chaos and then trying to do 40 hours a week consulting as well, it's going to be a nightmare for you. You don't have to stop treating. You do what you're passionate about. But to do 40 hours a week consulting, have a team, and then try and run the business, there's just not enough hours in the day unless you've got really, really good systems around you. So it's not wrong. I'm not going to prove you wrong, but work in what you want to do and make sure the system is supporting what you want to do. The business is there to serve you in whatever way you want it to serve you.
Absolutely. Well, this is fantastic. But reflecting on your journey again there, Paul, you've done so much to contribute to health, business, education. You've written a book, and I think we'll put the links in the show notes there so people can get a hold of you. What's next? What can people expect? I mean, the sports cars are faster now, and I don't know about the leg room, but maybe.
Ah, no, I'm slowing down, Prosper. As the youngest is now 26, so we're beautiful wife Helen and I we're now empty nesters. So I do this. I do this now because I enjoy it, because I like helping people. And but we're going to do our caravanning. I think I think COVID came for us at a time when I still like presenting. I love speaking, but I don't like travel anymore unless maybe if Helen and I do it as a trip, we go and do something as a trip together, and we do a lecture as part of it. What's next for me is keep helping as many people as I can, keep enjoying my life, spending my beautiful time with my beautiful wife Helen and the daughters, and with whatever morsel of time they give us as parents when they get older. But that's about it. Just want to keep helping as many people as we can, and live a great life.
Absolutely. I viscerally believe in life. We're here to live, to learn, and to contribute. You've lived the best life that you possibly can. I mean, proof positive. You've managed to create businesses that actually worked without you, and you've learned all the way how to do it. And now you're just passing the elevator down, helping others be, do, and have, businesses that are profitable and also enjoyable on their part. But I've now realized why you're choosing caravanning, because it suits where you're headed now, and there's enough space in a caravan for towels. You've learned some really
Towels.
good lessons, right?
We'll fill it, Prosper. We'll put as many towels in there as we can. We'll no depth, no most. And I know it's a female thing. Helen loves cushions, so the
Oh,
thing will be full of cushions. I don't know what this obsession with cushions is, but there's 1,000 cushions in every lounge in her house. So I assume the caravan will be full of cushions. There's no room for people on a bed in our house, but
oh
there's lots
no.
of cushions. But there's cushions.
You see, you have to find your way to the top of the bed every night,
That's the deal.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Paul, for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today on the Online Prosperity Show. I mean, it's been a pleasure having you, and definitely I've learned a thing or two about the way you operate and how other health businesses can actually create a business that works with them. Now, if you, our viewers, are looking for transformation in your health business or in business in general, so you can enjoy a lifestyle with more income and less stress, don't miss out Paul's Practiceology program, where you can definitely start to create passive income in your business that actually works without you. And for more information, we'll be putting all those links in the show notes, so that you too can definitely increase your income, build better referral systems, and define your goals without having to spend a lot of time trying to navigate the work that you signed up for. So until next time, this is Prosper and Paul. We're signing off. And remember, your prosperity begins here. So be sure to subscribe to this channel. Bye for now.